Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, it's important for everyone to have a cause, to have something that they believe in. And here and in the seats, one of those things for us is one of those cultural institutions that people have assumed is long since dead, but there are a few out there that are still flying the flag for the sake of the joys that is physical media. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I am the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, and so much very more. Just having a good old conversation about stuff. And if you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, and we certainly hope that you do, please do so either over at Apple, over at Spotify, or you can find all of our episodes archived over on our YouTube channel. We'd love it if you follow us on social media as well. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram at either @InTheSeats or @It'sPodcast1 for all sorts of updates. And finally, we'd love it if you could visit us over at intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest movie news, reviews, and all sorts of other fun stuff where our team is working hard 24/7, 365. Maybe not all at once, but we're always on the clock for you, for your entertainment needs over there in the seats, much like today's guest. Because we are talking with the owner and the operator of Bay Street Video. And Bay Street Video just happens to be coming on board as a sponsor and a friend to the show. And Bay Street Video is at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And if you want to rent something, if there's Blu-rays that you want to buy or DVDs that you want to buy, you know what? It's so important these days to shop local and sort of regain that sense of community that we've lost these days, just in terms of being able to go to the video store and talk to people about movies, or go to the theater and talk to people about movies. It's one of those things that it's I dare say it's a cultural institution, but it's an important thing to do. And if you do need anything, we recommend you do give them a call at either 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto, all one word, at gmail.com for any of your needs, because they are still open for curbside and now for some shipping needs as well. And you can, send them an email, give them a call, or check them out on their website at baystreetvideo.com for more information. And that leads right into the man who we are talking to. We are talking with Michael Bernick, the owner and the operator of Bay Street Video, the man who is flying the flag for physical media out here in a film community like Toronto, and it's an important thing. And we talk about his origins in the business and just sort of how it's evolved and what he's seen throughout the years and just how the business has changed and still changing to this day. And also, there's a couple of tips and recommendations for any sort of shopping needs that you might need, because while there hasn't been lots of major studio releases, there's still plenty of stuff coming out every single week, and a lot of fun stuff too, especially if you're a fan of older films. But listen to our talk with Mike, and I hope you enjoy it, because I know I did.
Thank you for all your support over the years and being a loyal customer and all that. It's, without guys like you and everybody else, we wouldn't be here.
And I mean, you are flying the flag for the video store, because there's only a handful left. And most people on the outside looking in don't, think, oh yeah, Blockbuster, those are long gone. It's like, no, there's still a few left. And I'm kind of curious from you, walk me through the Bay Street Video origin story from your perspective. I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So back in the 90s, early 90s, when there was a recession, there was a video store in this mall who defaulted on their rent. And the landlord found that they were in a position with a fully stocked store, a fully staffed store, a market that wasn't very receptive to new retail leasing, and that's where I came in, and the rest is history. Jumped in and learned retail from the get-go.
Okay, so this was a new venture for you. It wasn't
Yes.
necessarily you weren't necessarily in the industry passionately for years and then decided to
No.
do your own kind of thing.
No, I liked movies. I'm, you know what? I love the entertainment of movies.
Okay.
I used to, back in the day, I used to skip school and go see afternoon matinees and things like that. And so watching a movie, I'm not necessarily a cinephile like some people. I can't necessarily discuss directors and auteurs and who the cinematographer is and who the gaffer was, but I do enjoy movies and cinema. I love sitting there and watching them. So it was just a thing. The landlord said, do you want to run it? I said, yeah, I love movies. Let's go. And
so is that really what drew you in? Just sort of the fun aspect of it?
Yes. Little did I know. Because at that time, there was a slow decline it was the VHS and beta days,
Yeah.
and it was a slow decline in the economy. So, I was watching it go down, and rentals are going down and down, and then all of a sudden they came up with DVD, and that just shot everything up within less than a year. Revenues were double, almost triple, because we started from the beginning. We knew there was a market for the collector, so we started selling some of the product as well.
Yeah.
And that's what started it. Was like, okay, rentals are good, but sales are better. So we kept renting and serving that segment of the market, and also found out that there were a lot of people that actually wanted to own this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember one of the early customers, one of the early DVD adopters. He didn't even have a player, but he came in and he goes, "I love these movies," and he bought every Fox. I think it was every Fox musical that was out.
Right.
At the time, and he said, I just want them. I don't even have a DVD player, but I love these movies. So that sort of said, oh, okay, we got a collector's market out there, so we can sell this stuff.
Well, and I mean, it's an amazing thing, because I remember the days of the DVD boom, because I originally started in VHS duplication, and then we went on to DVD manufacturing, and it was a weird time, because I remember we could sell these widgets for such a ridiculous price, and it was just one of those things that just kept going and going and going. And I'm kind of curious, from the retail standpoint, like, did the DVD boom really kind of save the business? Because I would imagine that, like, at that time, it was sliding downhill, but slowly. But then it did get this new life once DVD really did start to take off.
Absolutely, it's what saved the business. All of a sudden, your annual revenue is 3, 4, 5 times as much. At one point I'm going to think at the height, maybe 2009 or somewhere around there, we were doing more in a month, and that being the month of December, than we did pretty much the whole year in 1994.
Wow.
So, it because people saw the quality, and they were used to it from CDs, right? The portability, the ease of it, the handling of it. Videotapes, they got damaged, they got stretched, they didn't play all the time, and but CD, this new digital format, the quality was great, the sound was great, and it was easy to use, and it didn't, it didn't stretch every time you put it in. It played right,
Yeah.
right. So people were used to it through through CD, and so they adopted it very quickly.
How do you think the business has kind of evolved over the years? Because, I mean, obviously, especially these days with the advent of streaming and just sort of people forgetting about certain things and certain movies, I'm kind of curious, how has sort of not only the rental business, but the sale business kind of evolved? Because while on one end, it's nice to have the convenience, there are a lot of people out there who tend to forget that digital isn't necessarily ownership. Like, if you want to be able to watch movie X whenever you want, you need to have a physical copy in your hand, be it one you rented or one that you bought.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Um, how has it evolved? I don't know. We're still stuck in the 20th century at Bay Street Video, right? We're still doing it old school. But that being said, there are. It's amazing the difference in society. There are those people who are just streaming. I can get whatever I want, except they don't realize they can't get whatever they want.
Yeah.
That there is a very limited supply out there. And, granted, I have a limited supply as well, but we've been collecting the movies over the years. So my library of 33,000 plus titles, you go to the streaming services, and each one of them maybe has, in Canada anyways, maybe has 2,000 or 3,000 titles, maybe 5,000 titles. And in order to get anywhere close to the selection that we have in Bay Street Video, you'd have to join 10 different streaming services.
For sure.
Right. And yes, you were right in what you said. It's amazing when I read up, all these people who said, I bought this from Apple, or I bought this from Amazon, digital copy, and now it's no longer there. I thought I bought it. And it's like, well, no, you bought an extended.
It's an extended lease. It wasn't yours.
It's an extended lease. And whenever they want to pull it off, they can. And the only way to ensure that you have that movie for the rest of your life is to get it on physical media.
Yeah. I mean, do you think...
And there's a great segment of society that sees that.
Yeah.
They're just not as loud as the ones who push streaming, because they think streaming is they can sit on their couch and pick whatever movie they want. Except when you look at, Netflix is, and it's the only one that really comes to mind right now. You look at their selection, I really don't think they have anything that was made before 1990.
Yeah.
To choose from, right? Or maybe they have a very small selection, but you want to get anything by, Woody Allen or Coppola or
Fred Astaire,
or you want to get Fred Astaire movies. You want to go back even that far, but you want to go back to the 70s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. You're not going to, you maybe find one or two titles, but you're not going to find the entire catalog of John Huston or John Ford or Coppola or Kurosawa, or you name a director, right?
Yeah. And I mean, there is that lost culture of the video store as well, because I mean, people would always sort of wax romantic about going to the video store on Friday night and picking up a few movies for the weekend, and that kind of went away. And I mean, on one end, yeah, if you just want to sit around and watch Jurassic Park and sort of tentpole stuff, the Netflix of the world are fine, Godspeed. But if you're trying to go a little bit deeper, this almost feels like the video store almost feels like a cultural institution that doesn't necessarily get its due. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Well, you know what? There's been sort of arguments like this throughout the history of video stores. You know, when movies came out in widescreen, you get, this is how it was shot, and this
Yeah.
is how the director intended you to see it, except you'd get the customer that came in and said, I don't like widescreen. I want to film my whole television setup, and I paid this much for my TV. I want to use the entire screen. Right? Okay, fine, right? So then there's a lot of pan and scan movies out there, and then we went into widescreen televisions. That's great. So, there are people out there on all sides of the fence, and yes, the excursion to the video store, because they're not on every block anymore and in every neighborhood anymore, there is a segment of society who's never going to know that feeling
Yeah.
of going in, spending however long you spend, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 3 hours, and picking up something that you never thought you would have ever picked up, because maybe someone you talked to, either a staff member or another customer, says, oh, you like that? Well, you know what? You should try this. And you take it home and you go, oh my God, that's my new favorite movie.
Yeah.
Right? Or oh my God, I like horror now. Or oh my God, I can't believe I watched a black and white movie with subtitles. Right? And liked it.
Yeah.
Right? So go ahead.
No, it's one of those things, because there does seem to be a bit of a disconnect, especially because especially for films. Right now, like mid-pandemic, that's another story entirely.
Yeah, because because we can't even talk about that, because people can't even come in the store now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that at the end of the pandemic, our loyal and regular customers and new ones will find their way back into the store.
But also, like, just DVD and Blu-ray almost seems like it's in the middle of its evolution to becoming vinyl, almost. Does that make a lot of sense? Because there is
absolutely
markets, and there isn't the death of anything. It's just different slices of the pie, that the entertainment industry pie that we all have to share. Back in the 90s, when the DVD boom happened, it was so overwhelming. Now it's just being divvied up more and more and more and more.
Yeah. Well, I think a big issue right now, especially during the pandemic, is that there's no theater.
Yeah.
And that's really hitting the bottom line of the studios. So they're trying to find new avenues to monetize their product. And, what did I read the other day? That Warner Brothers, their entire 2021 slate is coming out on streaming.
Yeah, 19 films, yeah.
Yeah. They're basically, and I get it, because the theaters no one's going back to the theaters until at least late 2021.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to show up. They're still not going to show up in the numbers that they showed up pre-pandemic. So they've got to try and make some money back on their investments.
And Hollywood Reporter just tweeted today that MGM is talking with Amazon about something. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. But as you know what, I still think they see a business in physical media, because I think with just internationally with Amazon and with all the other marketplace websites out there that are selling eBay, Amazon, that are selling physical media, I think they still see that it is a viable business.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
It really does just come down to, because the VHS to DVD shift was so overwhelming, people have been expecting the next overwhelming shift, but that's not happened. It's been sliced up into different pieces of the pie.
Yeah. Especially now, you've got DVD, you've got Blu-ray, you've got 4K, and what are they going to go 8K next? But as they move along, not as much gets transferred over.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you still got the diehard VHS guys who are looking for all those tapes that never made the jump from VHS to DVD, right? And then there's the people that are looking for those DVDs that never made the jump to Blu-ray. And
Yeah.
then you've got these Blu-ray people, and now the 4K people are all looking for these 4Ks, and they're going, "Where's this one? Because I want this one to come out on 4K." But I don't think the studios are going. They're never going to do as much as they did before.
No, no, you're exactly right. And I mean, I love that you mentioned that because, I mean, especially when I come into the store, and especially these days, I mean, not into the store, but you know,
Yes.
a lot of the stuff that I end up buying is the sub-label stuff, the stuff
Mhm.
that's really sort of pushing out sort of the more interesting, the more little more obscure, the little more focused on the fan kind of content. And I'm kind of curious because especially particularly this year, there hasn't been a lot of studio stuff. But when we see what the Criterions and the Arrows and the Kino Lorbers and labels like that are doing to sort of find a lot of these movies and push them out now, I'm kind of curious, how has that sort of impacted, I guess maybe even from a sales standpoint, how is that kind of driving your business right now?
Well, you said it. It is driving our business. The big studio stuff is all well and good, but for the big studio stuff, the consumer can pretty much find it anywhere. They can find it at Shoppers Drug Mart. They can
Yeah.
find it at Walmart. They can find it at, you know, the corner store. They can find it on Amazon. So that's granted, it's rented and sold well for me, but what's driving the business more is the collector's series stuff,
Yeah.
the Criterion stuff, which has always ever since the beginning has been, you know, one of our top draws. The fact that we have for rental and most of the time for sale in stock the entire Criterion catalog gives us a one up. The packaging, the care that they put into their product, and it's not just them. It's, as you said, it's Arrow, it's Kino, it's Shout Factory, it's new labels like Indicator and Evocative. They're doing such a nice job, and they're picking titles and subjects that the collector wants, not what necessarily middle America wants to just stream on a Saturday night. This is stuff that people want to own with bonus features, with added extras. Sometimes you're looking at a special edition from Arrow that's coming with a book, with a poster, with a CD, soundtrack. So all this value-added stuff. Granted, some of them aren't necessarily cheap, but they're also. But you look at it and you see value for your money.
No,
And the quality of the transfers are top notch.
and it's giving life to these movies that maybe got forgotten or maybe didn't necessarily get sort of their due back in the day. Because I mean, especially when it comes to the physical side of things, with the Star Treks and the Batman shows like being released in these sort of fancy packages and everything being done that way, it seems like the holy grail of TV on physical media has been sort of reached and it's done. But for movies, there is still so much out there to be mined. It's one of those crazy things that when you really sit down and think about it, it's kind of overwhelming.
The problem is you speak to a thousand people, you're going to get 1,000 different favorite films.
Exactly.
Right. And so the people who are running the shows at these, let's call them boutique labels like Criterion and Kino and Shout Factory and Arrow, they have their biases.
Yeah.
And kudos to them, because some of them have picked some great things, and you know, it's nice that they're all got their own little niche. Kino does this stuff, and Shut Factory does this stuff, and Criterion does that, and Arrow does that. And sometimes you get an overlap, but more often than not, you don't. And which is giving us more and more of some, classic, classic films that are coming out that have not been out in a good transfer for years.
No, for sure. And I mean, it does bring up the point as well that the reality is, especially for the business now, that if you see something on physical, you should probably buy it if you want it, because I remember the days of, where you could walk into a Walmart and see full display stands of Dark Knight. Like there would be 10 million copies floating around North America.
Yeah.
Now on some of the stuff that something like Criterion or Kino will release, if they're doing 5,000 units for North America, I'd consider that generous.
Yeah. Listen, I've said this since the beginning of of people purchasing. If you see it and you think you want it, buy it when you see it, because you don't know the next day if it's still going to be there.
Yeah.
Because even when there were a million copies for North America of Batman, or the next Disney movie, that's not to say that the next day they were going to pull it and put it out of print.
Exactly.
Right. And then all of a sudden, yeah, great, those million copies were out there, but you know what? If that store only had 5 copies and the 5 copies went, they can't get any more.
Yeah.
Right. So it was always, if you see it and you think you want it, buy it when you see it, because it may not be there tomorrow.
No,
and now with limited editions, and as you said, limited editions of 5,000, that's generous, because a lot of them now are 2,500 and 3,000 copies, right?
Yeah.
And they're going all over North America, not just 3,000 for Canada.
Exactly.
Right? It's 3,000 for Canada and the US. And we'll be lucky if we get our allocated amount.
Yeah, you'll order 20, you'll get 10, and you won't be able to complain, because that's just what there was. Yeah.
Which is what happened with that Friday the 13th box that came out recently. It was highly allocated. We had ordered, we thought we wanted a lot, so we ordered a lot. And then we thought, shortly before it was to release, we thought, well, we needed more. And we contacted our supplier, and they said, sorry, we're being allocated. You asked for this many. That's all you can get.
Yeah.
We can't give you any more. So, that's what happens in this business. Oh, well.
And I mean, that leads into my next question, because, I mean, obviously these days you can't have people in the store. You have to do curbside. Obviously, please go down and support Bay Street Video. Do,
Thank you.
Curbside pickup, do whatever you need. But how have you found sort of the social media tools that your team is using, like Instagram, like Facebook, just to be able to get the word out of what titles are out to sort of help drive sales?
You know what? They've been doing listen, I'm so old school. I don't know what's going on. I sort of look and see what they do, and they're doing a great job of posting what comes out every week. And lately we've been doing it because of the lockdown. Lately they've been taking a little theme and putting together a bunch and taking a photo of it and putting it on social media. And I know that it reaches people, and because I see the type of reaction we get to it, the people who are liking it, the people who are responding to it, it's wonderful. And we're getting calls, we're getting emails for people for curbside pickup and stuff like that. And it's always, I have no words to say that the people who are supporting us in this time, we're very thankful that they still are, because it's a dumpster fire out there. You look at the numbers of what's happening with this pandemic, and they're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
right?
No,
And
it's true.
people really shouldn't be going out very often. But we we very much appreciate that they do make a trip to Bay Street Video for our curbside pickup.
My one bi-weekly trip out of my neighborhood
Yeah.
to you. So
Thank you very much. Listen, I come down, I hide in my office, I don't leave, and I'm the only one in the office, so it's not a problem. And then I go home and I don't leave the house. Once a week to maybe Shoppers Drug Mart and once a week to the grocery store. But other than that, it's as I said, a dumpster fire.
yeah.
Right.
But no, I mean, just to try to end this on a happy note.
Yes.
Like, I'm kind of curious because, I mean, it is the holiday season. And I mean, obviously, sales are down, but I'm kind of curious from your perspective. And I mean, you're seeing all the stock come in. Is there anything you mentioned, like the Friday the 13th box, which is such an impressive set?
Yeah.
Is there anything else out there that you've seen sort of come across your receiver's desk to go, wow, that's pretty cool, people should buy that?
It's funny you say that. There's a plethora of stuff that comes in every week, right? And I like to see, Arrow has come out with this new I forget his name, a Japanese
the Imamura,
Imamura box, which came out, and also his Versus, another director, Versus, came out from Arrow, which are really nice packages. But just a couple of weeks ago was the Essential Fellini box, which is, the Criterion is outdoing itself with some of its collector's series. That Godzilla box that came out last year.
Yeah.
The Varda box set that came out, 6 months ago or so. And now this Essential Fellini box, which is, it's the size of that Godzilla box, so it's not fitting on your shelf, but it's fitting on your coffee table, and it's beautiful, and it's put together a bunch of movies that some have been out, but I believe there's a number that haven't been out before in physical media. The other stuff from Criterion, new next week just came out as Crash, which is, hasn't been in a nice form for years. It's been out of print for years.
Yeah.
And they've done a really nice job with that. There was, one of my favorite films came out a couple of weeks ago, Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai. Just a wonderful performance, nice packaging, and and Arrow is doing some great packaging. And then some of the big studios are doing some stuff too with their Hitchcock box sets, and other box sets that they're coming out with. There's a lot of product out there that is geared for the collector, so it's a nice gift depending on what you want to spend. We've got everything from the $15 price point up to the $300 price point and more, so there's something for everybody in between.
And I can speak to experience on that, because I've bought one $300 thing, and I've bought $300 worth of $15 things sometimes.
yeah. Well, that's it. And we what we try to do, and I've got to thank my staff for this, is to bring in, it used to be the old story that Blockbuster got a ton of one title, and we would get one of a ton of titles.
Right.
And that's what we're still doing. We're bringing in pretty much everything that is announced to us, and bringing it in, sometimes not in big quantities, but at least we're bringing it in and we can get it. So if there's something we don't have in the store, ask us, because we're happy to bring it in for you and call you when it arrives.
And it is really sort of a store that, especially in this town, which is such a film town, it seems very in tune with sort of the idea of the film community and sort of having audiences that want to watch as much as humanly possible.
Well, listen, we don't, we can't claim to know everything about movies and about cinema. So, we don't always know what's out there. We can only see what is coming through our feeds from our suppliers.
Right.
Sometimes there's stuff out there that may have missed us. Our suppliers may have missed. It's out there. We can usually source it if it's domestically available in North America. We can usually source it and bring it in for you, for anybody. And sometimes, if it's an important enough film, we'll bring it in for our collection as well.
For sure.
Right. So we got to rely on the customer as well, because our knowledge only goes so far. And fortunately, we've got, a number of people, and each have their own little niche genre that they like, right? So, if you got someone who likes horror, well, we'll go speak to him. If you got someone who likes, foreign films, speak to him. If or her, right? And so on and so forth, right?
Well, you know what? I think that's a good note to end on, because it's one of those things that we lean on the stories and we lean on the art so much, especially in hard times like this.
Yeah.
And it's an important thing to keep flying that flag. And it's an important thing for people out there to support local as much as they can, much like your store. And I hope people keep doing that. And God knows I'll see you soon for something.
Well, I thank you for that support. And yes, I agree with you. We have to support local, whether it be us at Bay Street Video, whether it be the local corner pizza shop around the corner from you on a takeout Wednesday. Go out and get yourself some pizza or some takeout food to help support the restaurants that are hurting, and don't forget to tip them. Yeah. They're working hard these days, right?
Yeah,
those restaurant workers, and they lost a lot of business.
Yeah.
And it's all the small places, the optical stores. If you need new glasses, go and see them, make an appointment. And we've got to keep everybody, in business. Otherwise, the community is going to disappear online.
No, and
no one's going to leave their house, and no one's going to see anybody face to face anymore.
And that would be even a worse thing than what's going on now. But you're absolutely right. And again, just thanks for the time to do this. And
Dave, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, Dave. Thank you.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.